There is literally no greater force for a living creature than sex and food. So it's no wonder that they show up in our dreams over and over again. But what do they mean? And why do we have them? Today I'm joined by Kelsey Butler. I met her while attending the Health 2.0 conference in Las Vegas. She's a registered dietitian who bridges the gap between diet and psychology, specializing in binge eating, anorexia, and healing the relationship that we have with our food. On today's episode, she talks about her most valuable insights in healing this relationship, and we take a deep dive into her own personal dreams to uncover the meaning hidden within. I'm so glad you're here. Well, hello. I'm here today at Health 2.0 with Kelsey Butler, a registered dietitian. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do and where you're from, all that wonderful stuff?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm a registered dietitian. I work with a lot of different companies that do health, fitness, wellness, all that kind of stuff. And I do consulting, or I meet with their clients, create content, different kind of materials, teach cooking classes, all that good stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, and currently I'm based in New Zealand, actually.
New Zealand?
Yeah.
Are you here from New Zealand?
No, well, I'm from the States. I don't have a Kiwi accent.
Yeah.
But I am just home for the holidays, and this conference just got kind of perfect timing.
So you're like, okay. I mean, it is, 5 days before Christmas?
Yes, so actually tomorrow night I'm flying back to my hometown for
oh my gosh, well, I caught you at the right
Christmas.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
So what made you move to New Zealand? That's a long, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Philly.
In Philly, and then you're just like, you know what? I like Lord of the Rings. Let's go.
I actually don't. I mean, I know, don't come at me, but
it's forever now.
I know. It's not that I don't like it. I just haven't ever taken the time to watch it, which I know is bad.
No, it's totally fine.
But
it's a cultural thing. You really have to be kind of in nerd culture, I think, to get the hype.
I've done a deep dive in Harry Potter. I've read all of those so many times.
Okay.
And I mean, don't get me started on Twilight, but I never got into the Lord of the Rings era yet.
I didn't. I was dragged to every Twilight movie in the theaters, though.
And did you love it?
Yeah, they weren't terrible. They were a good time, but it's not my top 10.
Okay. All right. Well.
Okay. So, but how did you get to New Zealand?
So my boyfriend lives in New Zealand. Yes.
Love.
Yes.
Love will do it. Yes.
So
that's not a bad reason.
No, it's not. But we met when I was doing my undergrad, and then we did long distance while I was in my master's, and then I got my degree, took my RD exam, and moved to New Zealand.
Yeah. Kelsey doesn't know anything about me. My wife is here.
Oh, amazing.
And we have our firstborn is due in February.
Oh, exciting.
So she is super pregnant.
Oh,
she's
nice.
loving it. She's all the bubble baths, all the massages.
Cute.
She's just having the best time in Vegas.
Good
while
for her.
I'm over here working.
Good for her.
I'm not. Yes, good for her. I mean, carrying another human being around.
Did you know what's really crazy to think about?
What?
Your wife is growing bones right now.
I know.
Yeah.
It is my content, so I can say this. The weirdest thing, I was like, you now have a little penis inside of you. Mm-hmm. That's weird.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Really
so
weird.
Whenever someone asks, who has the balls in the family, it's her. Yeah.
I love it.
But that's wild. That's wild.
Wow.
Do you? So this was kind of one of the questions I want to ask you. Mm-hmm. I find that whenever I talk with dietitians, there oftentimes ends up being a huge mental health conversation.
Yeah.
You almost end up being like a counselor for them in some ways.
Yes.
Not obviously in a professional sense, but so much of food is related to their relationship with food and the way that they grew up and their family. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah.
How you address that with your clients?
Definitely. That is my favorite thing to talk about.
Really?
Yes.
Please.
So
all ears.
When I started my career kind of specializing in eating disorders, so that's kind of my jam is talking about mental health and nutrition at the same time. So it's so important how much food is related to our mental health and vice versa. And a lot of the times, I specialize in eating disorders, but I use that when I meet with whoever, because every single person that is usually coming to me about nutrition is also dealing with other issues of, having different relationships with food, having poor relationships with food, not being able to control food. And I talk so much about removing that control and actually making friends with your body and with food. And it's huge. It's a really big part of my job.
What do you find seems to be where that poor relationship starts? Like, does that usually come from childhood things? Does that come from like a traumatic event?
Yeah.
Like,
it can
what
come from
are
a
you
lot of
seeing?
things. Yeah, it can come from a lot of things. I think a lot of times it is just that nurture side of it. When we're born, you'll see this in a couple months.
Yeah,
but babies are very self-regulatory. They know when they're hungry. They know when they're full. They will tell you.
You're right.
When they want food and what they want. And as children, we kind of start to lose this when we become part of the clean your plate club, or we're part of the you can't have dessert until you finish your dinner, or you only have 15 minutes to eat lunch in the cafeteria.
Wow, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, so we lose that kind of relationship, that conversation between our stomachs and our brains and our bodies, because we're putting these societal standards of how we're supposed to eat food.
Well, that makes so much sense. You know, I've found kind of like a relationship with that with dreams. You know, there's a lot of people are very frustrated by dreams, and you know, when you're a kid, like dreams are very normal. Like they're a normal part of it. You talk about them, you pretend to be your dreams, right? You're whoever character that you were seeing in the movie last night.
Yeah.
But then as we get older, we either totally forget our dreams because we stop prioritizing our mental health, or we have this antagonistic relationship with our dreams, kind of like an antagonistic relationship with food, where instead of, like, children know, like, oh, I had this dream, this means something about me. As adults, we're like, my mind's just being an asshole. And it's like, no, like, we've stopped really listening to what our body and our mind is trying to tell us, and we lose that kind of self-regulatory function.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know, just hearing you say that, it seems like a parallel there.
Yeah.
Would you kind of agree?
I would agree, and I will say, so the reason I kind of started specializing in eating disorders, because I had one myself when I was a teenager, and I remember I used to dream of being allowed to eat food.
That's a very common one. Yeah,
yes,
I get that all the time.
I would have these dreams of eating whole pizzas and plates of whole pans of brownies and all of these things that I wasn't allowed to eat. And then I'd wake up and be like, oh, thank God I didn't eat it all. But that's,
like almost waking up with guilt.
Yes.
Like, oh my gosh, I broke my diet.
Exactly.
Wow.
And then I would just be like, oh, never mind, it's okay. I didn't eat it. That can be kind of triggering to people, but that's kind of like where my mindset was at. Sure. And
that's
now,
your story.
Exactly. And now that I don't experience that, I've kind of overcome and I've recovered from my eating disorder now. Yeah. And I don't have dreams like that at all. Like, because I'm allowed to eat a brownie when I want one. I'm allowed to have pizza when I want it. So
you've kind of gotten back that relationship and that self-regulatory function. Wow, that's cool. I met someone at the International Association for the Study of Dreams and did an interview with her. And she learned how to lucid dream specifically for the purpose of being able to eat whatever she wanted in a dream.
Oh my gosh.
So she learned how to control her dreams so that way she could eat whatever she wanted in that dream.
I would love to talk to her about nutrition.
I get it. And especially like, you know, if that's something that's come down really hard on growing up or just in society or in like your school as you're going through that. And I think, I don't know, I'm curious for your opinion, but I feel like it's disproportionately against females, those who identify as female, that it's like you have to look a certain way. Yeah, definitely. Oh my gosh, yeah. And there really is that pressure around the way that you look or the way that how much you weigh and all how, you know, your measurements and all of that stuff. And I think that in the nutrition world, we're definitely starting to move away from that. In my own practice, like weight is literally just a number that describes your body. It is just the number of the mass of your gravitational pull to the earth. That's all it is, exactly.
And it's the same thing as like what your blood pressure is or what your cholesterol is or whatever those things are. So being able to remove that part of the assessment, I mean, they're helpful numbers, but what's more helpful to me is where's your mental health? How are you feeling? What are your behaviors that we can actually focus on? Yeah. Because we can't just wish a number to change. We actually have to focus on where you're at and make sure that you're feeling your best. And the number doesn't have to be part of that. Yeah, or even appreciate what that number is actually saying. Exactly. It's not saying that you're a bad person or less valuable. It's like, hey, there's an emotional problem here, perhaps. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. All right, well, they're yelling at me to move, so we'll move briefly and we'll pick up in a sec. And while we transition, take a moment to download DreamApp. We recently released all of our dream symbols for free, so you never have to wonder what they mean. There is literally no greater resource for uncovering the truth hidden within your dreams. And right now, anybody who uses DreamApp gets a free review from a dream expert to make sure you get that personal touch. Download it now with the link in the description. We were talking about the relationship of how weight is just a number. It's a measure of the Earth's gravitational pull on you. And so there can be this relationship where
your weight should be an indicator of like what's going on with you. It shouldn't be a reason to judge yourself. It shouldn't be a reason to like think that you're less valuable. It should be like, hey, let's think about what's going on here that's caused this. Like, let's just use it as data. And so I think that's the same thing with dreams, where it's like, you know, especially if it's like a traumatic dream or something difficult, it'll go with you through your waking life, and it can be really disruptive. You know, you're thinking about it, or it replays a traumatic experience. And so I think it kind of creates this war, this tension within yourself, where your mind is not your enemy. It's just trying to give you data. Yeah. And so if you can use that as just data and take away that emotional negativity, I think it can be really helpful. And that's like what DreamApp's trying to do.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's so true. There are, most people dream. I dream a lot. So so it's always sometimes you wake up in the morning and you're like, what the hell?
Yeah. Well, so that's my next question. Is like, can you tell us a little bit, like, what's your dream life like? Are you really into dreams? Do you like write them down?
I don't write them down, but I dream most nights.
Most nights. Yeah. What are they like for you? Because like for me, I'll give an example. My mind, I have what's called aphantasia. So an aphantasia means that when I close my eyes, I don't see anything. It's like some people can really visualize things inside their mind and like picture it and kind of move it around. I can't see anything. So it makes me very bad with directions because I can't make a mental map. So like it's really tough. So like I need Google to tell me where to go. Otherwise I don't know where I'm going. But like my wife, for instance, just an incredibly vivid visual capacity because she's a choreographer. So she's visualizing how these dancers are going to move, what they're going to do. So her dreams tend to be very like episodic, story-driven, right? They're very vivid. And mine are like, I had one the other day. I found out that Bigfoot was real. And then I was like, we had to find one of the 3 ways to identify his footprints. That was my dream. And I'm like...
Wow. That's quite intricate, though. I think that's still interesting.
But they're goofy.
Yeah.
So what are yours like?
Well, I'll give you an example. Last night I had one.
Nice.
And we were in this mountain range, and we were all in this truck. It was like me and a bunch of friends, and we were trying to drive it up the slope, and we kept on getting further and further up the mountain, and it would get steeper.
Were you
and steeper.
driving the truck?
No, I was in the back.
Okay, you're in the back.
I wasn't driving because I was freaking
I'm analyzing.
out. But we were driving up this hill, and it was getting steeper and steeper, and then there was... sometimes I'd be looking out the front, but sometimes I was actually looking on top of the car, like bird's eye view of us kind of going up. And it was very colorful because everyone was wearing like bright colored ski suits, which is fun.
Yeah.
And there were some skiers coming down. I remember my friend was wanting to ski down where we had just gone up. I was like, please don't do that. It's really steep, so don't do that. And then I kind of think I think that might have been the end.
That was the end?
Yeah. I think so.
If there's more you don't want to say, that's okay too.
No, I'm actually just trying to remember because it feels like I didn't wake up right away, but that might have just been the end of that dream before.
Do you dream multiple times a night? Nice. You do. Like we go through about 6 or 7 cycles, 5 or 6 cycles of the whole sleep process, REM and then 5 NREM stages. So you dream in all of those. And so each cycle you'll have a new dream.
Now I remember what happened.
Oh my God, yes.
Someone was trying to talk to me. They were telling me a story and I kept on like almost waking up, but I really wanted to hear their story. Okay. So my alarm was going off and I was like, no, I want to hear what he's saying. And then the alarm woke me up too much. So I can't remember his story, but it's one of those things that happens to me sometimes too, where I'm reading a book in my dream and then I get lucid because I'm like, I can't make up words, I'm asleep, and then all the letters fly off the page and I wake up.
Wild. Wow. You know, it's very difficult to lucid dream and very few people can actually read in a dream, so that's very unique. Wonderful mind.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and being able to recall it that well is really great indicator.
It happens to me a lot.
I would imagine, and we'll get to the interpretation of the dream in a sec, but I would imagine that all the work that you've done on your own mental health has created a really strong bond between your mind and your emotions are really integrated. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. I think that's so true. Like where I have any anxiety or when like food stuff comes up, I'm able to kind of check in and be like, what's happening right now? Why is my body being like this? And I can kind of, like I've worked so much on that communication between my brain and my body to say, okay, I know I'm feeling anxious right now. My heart's beating fast. I can't breathe very well. That's anxiety.
Wow, that's
Take a step back, and then to put a name to it really helps to kind of slow down a little bit.
That's great advice. I mean, geez, write that down. That's a tweet right there. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay, so the dream. So you're going up a mountain. Would you like to kind of talk about the meaning?
Yeah, I would love to.
Okay. So typically we kind of break dreams down into symbols, and each of those symbols will have kind of like an emotional sort of metaphor or meaning to it. I'm actually gonna I'm like running into
standing in the tree.
I'm standing in the tree, so let me not do that.
There's a friend. I can't. I don't think he's real. No, he might be.
She, whatever they identify as.
Okay.
What?
I was vibing a he.
Did you feel it?
Yeah.
I think you're right, because that was my initial knee-jerk reaction.
Not assuming the tree's gender.
Right. The gender of the tree can be identified by the tree itself. I appreciate that. Yeah. Nice pot.
Yeah. Lovely.
So usually dreams, we break them down into symbols, right? Mm-hmm. And so with that dream, going up a hill usually is a symbol for life and trying to achieve your goals, right? You know, climbing up that hill, struggling up that mountain. You can see how even in our language, we really use that as a metaphor for trying to achieve our goals. Truck is usually very much related to that. So it's and this is all your dream, so it's your control over achieving those goals. Because trucks are very much a utility vehicle. If it was just a car, that would be a symbol for your control of your life in general.
Right.
So, but this is your business kind of control, or like your control, like trying to achieve your dreams. Now, what's interesting though, is you're not driving the truck.
Yeah.
There's somebody else who's driving the truck. A friend of yours. Yeah. That friend of yours, what would be like some defining characteristics about that friend? Are they very outgoing, very conservative? Like first thing that come to your mind.
Outgoing, old friend from high school.
Old friend. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Very outgoing.
Yeah.
Type A, type B.
More type A than me.
Okay. Okay.
I recently described myself as a type B plus.
Yeah, that's true. When we first met.
So I would look at it more on a spectrum.
Sure.
More type A than me.
More type A than you. So what's interesting about this is when we dream, all of those symbols are related to ourselves. So even though your brain is showing you images of your friends, those are actually characters inside of you that you'll play.
Oh.
So this is your outgoing type A part of your own personality. So like you may identify as like type B plus, but probably when you're working and trying to achieve your goals, you act a little bit more type A than maybe totally natural for you. Would that be accurate?
That is very accurate.
Nice. So right now you've got a big goal in front of you, this mountain that you're climbing, whatever that personal goal is for you.
Right.
And it's a little scary because you're really putting yourself out there. And so there's another character that when you get to the top of the mountain wants to ski down and have a good time.
Yeah.
But sometimes you really hold yourself back from having that good time because of some of these anxieties and fears. Am I right?
That makes sense.
Yeah. So like what's interesting about this dream is you're here at Health 2.0 and you had this dream last night.
Yes.
And this dream is a perfect metaphor for, I would imagine, what you're probably going through. And tell me if I'm wrong, if I'm totally off.
Makes sense. Yeah.
But I would imagine this is really a metaphor for you trying to be very diligent and type A about these things and achieve your goals. That's why you're here.
Yeah.
But there's also a part of you that just wants to like free ski down this giant mountain.
I'm in Vegas.
Yeah, and like let go of all those like inhibitions and stuff.
Yeah.
But there's another part of you that's a little bit afraid of really letting go that far. And so it's just this kind of balance inside of you of the characters inside your mind.
Yeah. I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the question I always like to ask when we do dream interpretation is, if your mind is giving you this message, what is the message that you need to receive? Like what next steps would you need to take based on this information your mind's giving you, if you don't mind sharing?
No, I'm trying to think of a good way to formulate it and not just repeat what you just said.
Because it's deep, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
But probably just, I don't know, I think just to focus on the way that I like to go through my life. Like, I do have goals, but I try to describe myself as a person with no expectations, because I think that when you set expectations, you're bound to not fulfill them, whether it's better or not as good.
Sure.
So I want to push myself in certain directions.
Yeah.
But I also think sometimes it scares me, but I do want to go with the flow and just allow life to happen while I can, manifest or pray or whatever you want to put a word to. That's beautiful. To become.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you think if this dream were talking to you and trying to give you advice, would it say that you should be more type A or more letting go and just being free? What's the key message there? Or maybe you don't know
I think
yet.
it's balance.
It's balance.
I think it's balance because
there's a lot of characters in that card.
Yeah, I can swing one way or another a lot.
It's beautiful.
I'm a Gemini, so.
Oh, okay. It's coming together.
But I can either be really, really focused and hardcore on myself, or I'm just like, see you later, I'm just going to go ski down this mountain. So I think it's actually probably like...
So an integration of the different parts.
Yes, being able to find that gray area of being responsible, being on top of my stuff, being organized.
Yeah.
But allowing the fun and other things to come in.
That's beautiful. Man, thank you so much for taking some time, being super
Thanks
open,
for analyzing
vulnerable, and
my
honest.
dreams.
Yeah, absolutely. Plug your stuff. Where can they find you? Where can they follow you?
You can find me on Instagram. I'm nurtureyou_health. You can also check out my podcast I host with another dietitian. We answer a lot of nutrition questions. You can ask us your nutrition questions and we'll answer them. That's Taste Buds Podcast. You can find it on Spotify, Apple Music, whatever. You can also find us on Instagram. It's tastebuds_pod. And we are working on a TikTok. So you can find us there as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right.